Incoming message.
Members of the Scientific Review Board, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're initiating a formal, strictly objective analysis of what's been designated the Housekeeping Data Dashboard. Now, what began as a simple platform for curating supernatural anecdotes has inadvertently transformed into something else entirely. We are no longer looking at just simple storytelling here. Instead, we are tracking a real-time, highly measurable acceleration of anomalous phenomena. Our goal today is to review the data, completely strip away the emotion, and look strictly at what the numbers and the reporting timelines are actually telling us. I want to immediately draw your attention to a truly staggering metric: 400%. That is not just some slight uptick or a standard deviation in our reporting margins. This is a massive, year-over-year exponential growth metric in anomalous event documentation. When we see a 400% increase in a single year, well, it demands rigorous clinical investigation to understand exactly what mechanisms are driving that surge. Okay, let's dive right into this. We'll be moving chronologically through a formal clinical briefing covering 6 key areas. 1. The public archival shift. 2. Exponential acceleration metrics. 3. Geospatial anomaly tracking. 4. Crossing the interactive threshold. 5. Verifiable digital evidence. And finally, 6. The institutional bypass.
Section 1. The public archival shift.
We really need to reframe how we view traditional storytelling platforms. The Housekeeping channel, for instance, has completely inadvertently transformed into a real-time documentation archive. We're not just collecting ghost stories anymore. We're watching a phenomenon escalate in real time, and the public is unknowingly building the database for it. The underlying cause of this shift? Well, it's clearly illustrated in our submission rates. We've gone from 150 submissions per week last year to an astonishing 650 per week this year. The barrier to entry has completely collapsed. People are experiencing these events, and because of immediate digital access, they're reporting them instantaneously. They are literally documenting and submitting these encounters to public archives before they've even processed the event enough to tell their own families.
Section 2. Exponential acceleration metrics. And this brilliantly, or perhaps terrifyingly, illustrates exactly what we're dealing with. Let's trace out the trajectory of these raw numbers. Back in 2024, the archive received 7,800 reports across the entire year. In 2025, that number absolutely skyrocketed to 31,200. But consider the projection for 2026. Based on our current weekly velocity, we are on pace for 142,000 reported incidents by year end. Make no mistake, this is not normal linear growth. This is a total explosion of data that requires our immediate attention. We're defining this trend as exponential acceleration. To be absolutely clear to the scientific board, it's not necessarily that more events are spontaneously happening out of thin air. Rather, this compounding increase in event documentation is being fueled by instantaneous digital recording. It is entirely bypassing traditional institutional wait times and reporting structures. And what's really fascinating here is that our analysis indicates every single reputable paranormal research organization is currently showing this exact same pattern in their own internal data. Section 3. Geospatial anomaly tracking. Now, what's really interesting about this objective geographical clustering is that it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is a measurable, moving target, not just a bunch of isolated, unconnected incidents. Check out the data for May 2026. We tracked 89 highly concentrated reports in the United Kingdom, entirely contained within a dense 300 square kilometer area. Then, just 1 month later in June, that exact concentration abruptly shifts. A completely new active cluster forms 400 kilometers away. As a review board, we must view this shifting UK report cluster as empirical evidence of a highly mobile event. This isn't just a random distribution of public panic. It is a tracked, actively moving phenomenon. Section 4. Crossing the interactive threshold. Here we introduce the absolute most alarming chronological shift in our entire dataset. We're documenting a rapid, undeniable evolution in the nature of the entity encounters themselves, all happening over the span of a single calendar year. When we trace a typical reporting timeline, a crystal-clear escalation pattern emerges. Early in the year, baseline phenomena completely dominate. We're talking passive observations, reports of auditory anomalies, or visual shadows. By mid-year, we see the interactive threshold shift really begin to take hold. And by December, the reports are overwhelmingly characterized by intentional interaction and direct entity response. The baseline phenomena are steadily and undeniably escalating into aggressive interactive events. Let's highlight the clinical contrast between simple observation and active interaction. If we strip away all the human emotion for our academic review, the early passive reports are categorized by statements like, I heard a voice, or I saw a shadow. It's simple, distanced observation. Contrast that with the recent aggressive encounters, where witnesses definitively state that specific objects are moving with intent. We have a recent report detailing a heavy iron kettle being deliberately thrown across the kitchen specifically to block an exit. Another states, it learned my name. The escalation inside each individual report, going from passive observation to active interaction, is wildly compounding. Section 5. Verifiable digital evidence. We must now examine the specific eyewitness testimony extracted directly from the public archive data, all of which is heavily supported by instantaneous digital recordings. I submit this statement as Exhibit A, extracted directly from recent archive data. The entity responded to my question. This represents an undeniably successful, verified interaction captured on digital audio. The phenomenon is no longer just ignoring the observer, it is actively participating in a two-way exchange.
Now consider Exhibit B. It learned my name. So the crucial point here is the targeted cognitive nature of these recent aggressive encounters. This goes so far beyond a random object just falling off a shelf. This specific data point suggests an intelligence capable of gathering information about the observer and then utilizing it to personalize the encounter. Whatever is happening out there, it is becoming increasingly interactive over time.
Section 6. The institutional bypass. Let's move to and see how this builds a completely new methodology for data gathering. And honestly, it explains why traditional academia is entirely failing to track this acceleration. Step 1. The phenomenon is observed. Step 2. An instant digital recording captures the proof. Step 3. Immediate submission to a public archive like housekeeping. This instantaneous workflow produces verifiable data at speeds that traditional institutional research efforts simply cannot match. Think about it. Institutions require grants, review boards, and deployment time. The public archive requires absolutely nothing but a smartphone and a submit button. To wrap up our formal briefing, let's reiterate exactly what we are watching unfold. The housekeeping platform has truly become a living archive. The frequency of these events is demonstrably increasing on a weekly basis. The boldness of the reporting, backed by instant digital proof, is increasing monthly. And most critically, as of June 2026, the data proves that this phenomenon is absolutely no longer hiding. We are watching real-time documentation of something actively escalating its presence. I'm going to leave the review board with one final chilling provocation to address. The numbers are undeniably exponential. The geographic tracking proves beyond a doubt that it is a mobile target, and the verified testimony confirms a rapidly escalating cognitive awareness. The question we must now ask ourselves as investigators is simply this: what happens when a localized phenomenon stops hiding and actively begins communicating?
Come to me, chickens! Cock-a-doodle-doo!